Right, you want the alpine air, the dense pine forests. Total escape.
Exactly. Total escape from the concrete jungle.
Yeah.
So you pack up, you move out here to the Eagle Valley, and what is the very first thing you do?
Well, you demand a massive corporate infrastructure.
Yes, you want paved roads, you want luxury gondolas, and you want to make absolutely sure the wilderness doesn't accidentally wander into your backyard.
You want nature, but like temperature controlled.
Highly curated and preferably behind a solid layer of Kevlar. I mean, it's the ultimate mountain town paradox, right?
It really is. We are trying to engineer an environment that inherently just aggressively resists being engineered.
Which perfectly sets up our mission for today's deep dive. We are looking at the local news and civic updates for Thursday, June 25th, 2026.
And we've got about 15 different stories that all basically point to that exact same friction.
Yeah, the clash between massive human ambition and a very stubborn ecosystem. Because whether you've lived here for 30 years or you're a seasonal worker or just visiting, these things are dictating your daily reality.
Oh, 100%. It dictates your rent, your water usage, everything.
So let's jump into Act 1, local development. Because the sheer scale of the blueprints being dropped onto the valley right now is wild.
Yeah, look at West Lion's Head. That's a prime example.
Right. So Vail Resorts and East West Partners just presented their conceptual numbers to the Vail Town Council.
And we are talking about an entirely new hub. Hundreds of hotel rooms, a new gondola connection, dense housing, massive parking structures.
But here's the detail that caught my eye. They apparently presented this exact same sneak peek conceptual package to officials over in Park City.
Yeah, it's essentially the same deck.
I mean, are these mega developers just using a literal copy-paste corporate blueprint for every mountain town across the West? It feels like we're getting the franchise version of a ski resort.
Well, from a corporate finance perspective, it is a highly efficient model.
I guess, but
No, think about it. When a developer builds at that scale, they want a highly optimized algorithm. They want the perfect, mathematically proven ratio of luxury lodging to retail space.
to maximize the return on investment per square foot.
Exactly. If they proved that specific ratio works in Utah, financial logic dictates they should deploy the exact same spatial relationship in Colorado.
But a town is not a spreadsheet.
Right. And the people living in the town know that. They feel it when a prepackaged concept lands on the council's desk.
Which brings up this tension of, is the town shaping the development or is the development just standardizing the town?
And that tension is exactly why local pushback gets so fierce, which is how individual property owners suddenly find themselves wielding just incredible power.
Oh, you mean the Evergreen Lodge redevelopment next to the Vail Health Hospital?
Yeah. Peter Nobel's Solaris Group is trying to convert that entire property, but they only have 17 of the 19 condo owners on board.
Two owners are just completely holding out.
Two holdouts.
Dude, they are dug in like that old man in the movie Up with his balloon house.
That's actually a pretty accurate comparison.
But what kind of leverage do they actually have, against a developer with millions of dollars ready to deploy?
Well, it creates a fascinating legal bottleneck called a real estate assemblage. You see, if you own Unit 4B on the second floor, you literally own a block of airspace and the structural supports holding it up.
Wait, really? Just the airspace?
Yes, so the developer cannot just demolish the rest of the structure and leave your apartment magically floating in midair. They absolutely require unanimous consent to tear the building down.
Wow. So those two holdouts have totally disproportionate leverage.
Exactly. They aren't negotiating the market value of a two-bedroom condo anymore. They're negotiating the viability of a multi-million-dollar corporate project.
High-stakes financial chicken.
The developer has a binary choice. Either design the new megastructure around the existing units.
Which sounds impossible.
It's usually architecturally and financially impossible. Or they negotiate a buyout that might be exponentially higher than the actual market value of the condo.
That is wild. So the micro level completely stalls the macro. And speaking of the micro colliding with the macro, we have to talk about Minturn.
Oh, Minturn is acting like a microcosm for the entire valley's identity crisis right now.
Over back-to-back hearings, June 24th and July 1st, they have two items on their docket that couldn't be more different.
The whiplash is real.
First, there's the Midtown Village PUD. Massive, multi-phase project. 42 units across 5 Main Street addresses. Single family, commercial space, locals-only housing. Huge.
Right. That's a planned unit development.
But then, on the exact same docket, they are reviewing an application from a resident at 671 Main Street who just wants a variance to build a garage in their rear setback.
It perfectly illustrates the heavy lifting of local governance.
I mean, how do you even switch gears like that?
Well, let's unpack the terminology, because it shows how the bureaucratic pipeline works. The massive project, the PUD, means the developer isn't following the standard zoning map.
They're asking for custom zoning.
Exactly, a bespoke zoning package. They ask for taller buildings, and in exchange, they offer community benefits, like that locals-only housing. It requires incredibly complex legal analysis.
But then, right after dissecting that, the council has to pivot to a guy who just wants to keep his car out of the snow.
Yeah, the rear setback variance.
For anyone who hasn't fought a local planning board, a setback is just that invisible buffer zone between your property line and where you can legally build.
Right. And the procedural mechanism doesn't differentiate. Both projects run the exact same gauntlet of design reviews and public hearings.
It just shows how local officials are stretched to their absolute cognitive limits.
Toggling between macroeconomic housing solutions and, like, the micro details of a neighbor's backyard fence.
Speaking of macroeconomic housing solutions, all this bespoke zoning hasn't made it easier for actual workers to find a place to sleep.
It really hasn't. The housing market is just structurally labyrinthine.
But there is a new tool, right? The Housing Help Desk launched on June 8th by Housing Eagle County.
Yes, it's a centralized advisory portal. Because the inventory that does exist for locals is wrapped in highly complex legal frameworks.
Like deed restrictions.
Exactly. Deed restrictions bind a property's use so it stays in the hands of local workers instead of becoming a luxury vacation rental. And you also have area median income caps.
AMI caps, meaning your eligibility is tied to a math formula based on regional average wages.
Right. Make slightly too much, you don't qualify. Make too little, you can't afford it.
You have to thread this specific socioeconomic needle. So the help desk is basically a digital lifeline, so you don't need a law degree to sign a lease.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we're pouring all this energy into building our human habitats. But while we're staring at blueprints, Mother Nature is imposing her own restrictions.
And her restrictions are absolutely non-negotiable.
Welcome to Act 2. Stage 1 fire restrictions officially hit Eagle County on June 10th.
We're coming off a brutally low snow winter. Moisture levels are incredibly low.
The reports showed red flag warnings with 7 to 12% humidity and 50-mile-per-hour gusts.
7% relative humidity is an extreme atmospheric condition.
It sounds like an oven.
It basically is. The ambient air is so devoid of water that it aggressively pulls moisture out of the pine needles, the dead grass.
Turning the entire forest into kiln-dried kindling.
Exactly. Which is terrifying with a 50-mile-per-hour gust. A single stray ember from a campfire doesn't just start a brush fire. It gets carried into the canopy.
And travels the length of a football field in seconds. So campfires are strictly limited to designated metal grates now.
And if you use a liquid or gas stove, you need a 15-foot radius of clearance. The margin for human error has dropped to zero.
Zero. And that vulnerability extends to our water supply, too. The town of Eagle just implemented Stage 2 water restrictions.
Yeah, they've gone so far as to shut down the water fountains at Eagletown Park.
They also opened their yard waste facility and are pushing this consumer water portal to prevent bill surprises.
Well, Vail is implementing a specific water reduction plan, too, mainly to keep Gore Creek flowing.
It feels like water is becoming a premium subscription service. We're getting squeezed, man.
We historically treat water in the West as an infinite public good, but it is a highly finite resource.
And when Vail reduces human water use to keep a creek flowing, that's not just for aesthetics, right?
No, Gore Creek is the ecological backbone of that valley. If the water volume drops below a critical threshold, the flow slows down, and it heats up under the summer sun.
And warmer water holds less dissolved oxygen.
Exactly, the mechanism. The oxygen plummets, and the aquatic ecosystem, the trout, the macroinvertebrates, just collapses.
Wow. So they're artificially intervening in human life to prevent an ecological death spiral?
It's triage.
All right, so we're managing water, we're managing fire, but local governments are totally failing to manage the e-bikes.
Oh, the e-bike carnage.
It is wild. Eagle implemented a specific e-bike ordinance back in 2024, but local social media is just ablaze right now.
Packs of young riders with no helmets, blowing through stop signs, weaving through pedestrians on trails.
It gives everyone superhero speed with zero superhero responsibility.
It's a perfect case study of technology outpacing civic infrastructure. Psychologically, we look at an e-bike and categorize it as just a bicycle.
Right, we put it in the same behavioral bucket.
But the physics are completely different.
Because it's a motorized vehicle that weighs twice as much. If you have a 60-pound e-bike doing 20 miles per hour with kid who isn't even pedaling.
The kinetic energy involved in a collision is massive compared to a traditional mountain bike.
Yeah, it's like handing a kid the keys to a silent motorcycle, telling them to play in the park, and acting surprised when chaos ensues.
And enforcement is hard because the sidewalks and paths were never designed for silent, heavy, motorized traffic moving at sustained speeds.
Speaking of things moving fast in spaces they shouldn't be, let's talk about the original locals pushing back. The bears.
Oh, yes, the Gore Creek bear.
Back in May, a black bear with a highly refined sense of smell wandered straight into the Gore Creek campground and started sniffing out a tent.
And authorities didn't treat this as a cute wildlife sighting.
No. It triggered the U.S. Forest Service to issue an emergency order banning all soft-sided tents in that campground. You literally have to use a hard-sided camper now.
Which perfectly illustrates the overarching theme today. We move here to immerse ourselves in the wild, but the wild is actively adapting to us.
Bears are so smart, man.
Highly opportunistic foragers, they operate on caloric efficiency. Once a bear learns to associate the shape and smell of a nylon tent with human food,
That behavioral loop is locked in.
almost impossible to break.
So the Forest Service is basically acknowledging we can't rely on bears to act wild anymore. We've brought our food into their habitat for so long, they view campgrounds as a buffet.
So our response is to retreat behind armor. We have to sleep inside hard-sided metal boxes just to safely spend a night outside.
It's fascinating. We want the rustic experience, but we want it behind a secure perimeter.
Exactly.
Well, assuming you survive the dry heat, dodge the rogue e-bikes, and avoid the tent-sniffing bears, you actually get to enjoy the community.
And you need to. That's why people tolerate the high rents.
Let's hit Act 3, our lightning round. Local elections, logistics, and celebrations. First up, the Holy Cross Energy election.
A very big deal locally.
Sarah Smith-Imes, former mayor of Avon, outpaced Liz Qualman for the Northern District seat. And Monk also secured a seat.
For anyone thinking utility board elections are just dry paperwork, Holy Cross Energy is massive. They are writing the playbook for grid decarbonization in rural resort environments.
Yeah, did they just hit a milestone in March?
Staggering milestone. 100% renewable electricity for their members for an entire month.
Across a massive footprint, Vail all the way to Parachute and Aspen. But providing intermittent solar power is one thing. How do you provide baseload power to 45,000 members purely on renewables?
That is the core engineering challenge. Baseload is the minimum electricity demand required 24/7.
Like keeping hospitals running at 2 a.m. in a blizzard?
Right. Maintaining that without coal or gas requires incredibly complex integration of wind, solar, and massive battery storage systems.
So these new board members are inheriting a utility that's basically proving you can run an extreme weather economy on a fully renewable grid.
It's a massive technical achievement.
From cutting-edge power to world-class piano keys. We have some incredible culture updates, too. Dmytro Vinogradov, a famed Ukrainian pianist, is playing free local concerts right now.
From the National Music Academy of Ukraine.
Yeah, and he's dedicating the performances to raising funds for victims of the war in his home country.
It creates such a profound juxtaposition, doesn't it? You have this pristine, geographically isolated mountain bubble where people are arguing over e-bike speed limits and, backyard garage variances.
Oh, right.
And right in the middle of it, a world-class musician is using art to connect that local community to a massive, devastating global conflict.
It's a stark reminder that we are still connected to the broader human experience, despite the mountain bubble.
Absolutely.
But that isolation is something we take for granted until we rely on the single physical thread connecting us to the rest of the world. Interstate 70.
Ah, yes, I-70 traffic.
CDOT and the 4th of July. The town of Vail is bracing for its busiest weeks. Vail America Days, concerts, the GoPro Mountain Games wrap-up.
It's a lot of people.
So CDOT announced they are officially suspending their rock-scaling traffic holds on Vail Pass for the holiday weekend. And they said it won't impact the busy weekend.
That is incredibly optimistic bureaucratic phrasing.
I mean, isn't an unimpacted I-70 on the 4th of July an absolute oxymoron?
Completely. Traffic flow on I-70 during a peak holiday stops functioning like a fluid dynamic. It starts acting like a solid-state physics problem.
Solid-state physics. Because the volume of cars literally exceeds the physical capacity of the asphalt.
Right. Suspending the rock scaling holds removes one artificial bottleneck, but the natural bottlenecks are still there. the steep incline of Vail Pass, the funnel of the Eisenhower Tunnel.
The traffic doesn't really flow, it just sort of accretes.
Accretes, that is the perfect word. The vehicles accumulate and compress. CDOT is just doing damage control to prevent the accretion from completely freezing the corridor.
Well, if you find yourself stuck in that accretion and you need a palate cleanser from the highway gridlock and the fire restrictions, you need to head over to Eagle Flight Days.
June 26th and 27th.
Yes, registration is wide open for the Color Run, the parade down Broadway, and my absolute favorite, the Furry and Fluffy Pet Contest.
Pure, unadulterated small-town joy.
It really is the ultimate palate cleanser.
And it serves a vital civic function. You need those moments of low-stakes celebration. It's the antidote to all the heavy structural issues we've discussed today.
It reminds you why you put up with the housing crisis in the first place. You fight the macro battles so you can have a local parade. So let's pull all these threads together. We're watching this massive structural tug of war in the Eagle Valley right now.
On one side, mega developments dropping copy-paste blueprints on West Lion's Head.
And on the other, individual residents digging in, like the condo holdouts in Vail or the guy wanting a garage variance in Minturn.
But layered entirely over that human drama is the unforgiving reality of the physical environment.
Yeah, the human footprint is expanding rapidly while the environment forces us to restrict water and brace for red flag fire weather.
We pass laws for e-bikes moving too fast and rules to protect ourselves from bears that are too comfortable with our nylon tents.
It loops right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You can draw up the most mathematically optimized blueprint for a mountain town, but the mountain itself does not care about your blueprint.
The ecosystem, the wind, the water, the wildlife always has the final say.
Always. Which leaves you with this lingering question to chew on as you navigate the valley this week. As we engineer these perfect alpine utopias with our 42-unit planned developments and luxury gondolas and armored camping gear, are we insulating ourselves so much from the natural world that we forget we actually share it with wildfires, limited water, and hungry bears?
That really is the question.
In our rush to build the ultimate, highly curated resort lifestyle, are we loving the raw wilderness to death?
It's the defining question for every mountain community trying to balance growth with gravity.
Well said. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into your community. Stay curious, keep your eyes open around the valley, and we will catch you next time.